The South African Revenue Service currently processes tens of millions of taxpayer and trader records every single year. Managing that information is the backbone of the nation's financial integrity. Securing a data architecture contract with this sophisticated public sector institution carries exceptionally high stakes. Right now, SARS needs a technology provider to build a master data management and data governance solution. This is Formal Request for Proposal 07-2026. Under Commissioner Edward Kieswetter, the Revenue Service is moving past basic system deployment and aiming for mature, long-term institutional data stewardship. Whoever wins this contract must build a framework that enforces quality, reduces data duplication, and supports advanced analytics across all of those highly sensitive, continuous data inputs. This chart maps the tight 30-day procurement timeline against data volume. The tender opened April 21st, closing May 21st. Before that final submission date, serious bidders must hit an initial checkpoint, a May 4th Microsoft Teams briefing. This creates a difficult choice for enterprise vendors. Landing this contract offers immense long-term value, but mobilizing a dedicated bid team to meet these requirements in a matter of weeks requires a high internal cost. Choosing to bid on this is a true calculation of institutional maturity. You must prove your technological edge while simultaneously managing a high-stakes mobilization against a brutal ticking clock. Beyond the aggressive timeline, we have to look at the functional realities of the SARS environment you would be inheriting. The Revenue Service operates on a massive scale. The core requirement is architecting a framework capable of taking highly fragmented legacy infrastructure and consolidating it into a single operational system. You cannot simply plug in off-the-shelf software to handle this. Deploying an enterprise-grade master data management framework at this level requires custom integration and heavy-duty structural engineering. SARS expects clear, measurable outcomes: drastically reduced data duplication, strict enforcement of regulatory compliance, and the ability to run advanced analytics across their entire operation. Because of the massive computing power and deep integration expertise required to deliver those specific outcomes, lightweight data startups or emergent tech vendors are immediately filtered out. The sheer technical scale acts as a natural disqualifier. To realistically win and execute this contract, you need to be a Tier 1 system integrator with established, massive compute partnerships already in place. But the technological hurdle is secondary to the strictest barrier to entry: the legal liability attached to handling taxpayer records. SARS requires every consultant, service provider, contractor, subcontractor, and their employees to take a written, solemn declaration to preserve the secrecy and confidentiality of all SARS information. This is severe institutional and legal liability transferred directly onto your firm in the event of a data breach. Compared to typical corporate data security, managing this level of risk requires an expensive, heavy-duty internal personnel vetting process before your firm can even submit a bid. You also need the credentials to back up your security protocols, specifically holding the relevant South African Bureau of Standards, or SABS, certifications for managing public sector data. When you combine the required secrecy oaths with SABS certifications, it builds a massive structural moat. Tech firms without dedicated, highly mature internal compliance departments simply cannot pass this gate. There is one final piece of context that complicates the competitive landscape. Last year, SARS issued an exploratory market intelligence request, RFI02/2025. Through that request, the Revenue Service invited vendors to share information on master data management tools. They use that intelligence to shape the exact funded parameters we see in the current RFP today. This matrix breaks down the disadvantage for first-time bidders. Vendors who participated in the RFI directly shaped the RFP parameters. Meanwhile, new entrants face high opportunity costs. Early participants have already mapped specific capabilities to SARS's risk appetites. If you are looking at this requirement for the first time right now, you have to mobilize an incredibly aggressive strategy to close that knowledge gap before the May 21st deadline. Fresh bidders need to look objectively at their offering and calculate if their technological edge is disruptive enough to unseat competitors who essentially co-authored the market expectations. To help you decide if you should assign resources to this tender, we can run your firm through an objective triage mechanism. This flowchart maps go, no-go decisions. Do you hold SAB certifications and public sector references? If no, stop. Next, can you legally bind personnel to the SARS secrecy oath? If no, stop. Finally, can you mobilize a proposal team before May 21st? If yes, prioritize bidding. The perfect match for this profile is a Tier 1 integrator with high compliance maturity, deep South African public sector references, and ideally an existing relationship formed during the 2025 RFI. Conversely, niche data startups or vendors lacking rigid data secrecy protocols will only burn valuable capital by attempting to bid. If your firm meets the criteria, your immediate next step is to email the tender office at tenderoffice@sarsartov.az to secure your spot in the May 4th Microsoft Teams briefing. Walking away from RFP07/2026 saves critical resources if your firm is not structured for this exact environment. But for the perfectly matched enterprise, this represents the premier public sector data contract of the year.